So for this sprint, the first week or so, I was primarily just continuing to do some user testing with um, with learners as well as contributors, and then just consolidating those findings in terms of um, prioritizing certain features or things that learners and contributors identified as being sort of interesting points of comparison or things to include in the platform. So then I organized that just sort of in terms of technical things, conceptual um, conceptual benefits of differing implementations, and then better ways of gaining sort of entry points into code comparisons. And so based on that feedback, I started building out the uh, sort of version one of the platform. And so the second part of the sprint was pretty tech heavy. I set up my backend on using Firebase and um, and built out the contributor interface um, where you can where a contributor can come in, look at the code as well as the outcome of both, and then add tags comparing the code of these two navigation bars. So we can say that Instagram's is maybe clunky and terrible, whereas Etsy's is maybe clean and concise. And so after that, you can add your name as you want it to appear on the site for these sorts of free-form explanations of why you chose the tags you just entered. So maybe Etsy is clean because it, is easily readable. It's concise because its elements seem self-contained, maybe. Hopefully, actual contributors would write longer sentences. Instagram is clunky because maybe like the React IDs make it hard to read, and maybe say it's terrible just because it's been obfuscated so much that it's difficult to use. And so so the initial, again, sort of to recap, just the initial page that you saw was a place for contributors to categorize and tag code, and then this sort of freeform comments, as well as this next page where contributors highlight the line numbers in the code corresponding to the tags they've chosen, are sort of what I'm calling the justification parts as opposed to the categorization. And so here, I would highlight maybe like this lines 5 to 6 because it's clunky, and maybe these few lines because it's terrible. Maybe this whole header class is what I see that makes Etsy's code clean, and maybe the example of this div and submit button is an example of concise code. And so once again, this way we both provide ways for contributors to really quickly provide feedback, but also some more in-depth explanations behind their choices, as well as explicitly tying back their choices to the code itself. And so yeah, again, all of this is saved in the back end. For every tag, you see how many times contributors have given a specific tag to a website. You can see all the comments, so the comment text and then the name, and then also you can see all the individual highlights, the sort of the start and end lines for specific highlights corresponding again to the specific tags that have been entered. And so that was most of my sprint. And so for this upcoming sprint, I will be focusing on fleshing out sort of the comparison learner-facing interface, and basically loading in all the data that we've collected from contributors in some, some fashion that makes sense and provides some value to learners when it comes to comparing components.